Good day, everyone, and welcome to the International Leadership Coaching Certification with Joseph O'Connor and Samuel Lau. We're very happy to have you all here with us, and we hope you really enjoy the contents of what we're going to learn today. I leave you now with Samuel Lau. Samuel, hello. Thank you for being with us.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you guys here. Actually, we are here each other, and then especially thank you for to Joseph to hold this webinar for us to introduce the ICC certification. And then during the process, I will be the translator. If some of you that we got like a 45-minute section, and then like a 15 minutes for questioning. So if some of you would like to ask question in Chinese, Mandarin, wherever, so just let me know, and then so I can do it for you. 歡迎各位參加呢一次嘅 seminar。如果你哋係要用呢一個廣東話或者係普通話翻譯問一啲問題有關於 ICC 或者整個 program 嘅話，咁你可以提出。歡迎你們用普通話來去問問題，待會請你提出。Okay.
Okay. Hi, thank you, Sam. It's Joseph O'Connor talking now, and I thought that was the first time that Chinese was spoken on an ICC webinar, so that's great. Thanks, Sam. Samuel Lau is the ICC certified trainer in China, and he and I are going to be doing the international coaching certification in April next month in Shenzhen. So this is a webinar to kind of introduce that, to say a little bit about coaching, especially leadership, and how the coaching relates to leadership, because that's a really important point. Leadership is something that goes worldwide, international, just like coaching. So just to introduce myself, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Joseph O'Connor. I'm here in London, where it's a nice toasty 1 degree centigrade, although a bit of sun in the morning. I, together with my wife and partner Andrea, co-founded the ICC in 2001 when we were living in São Paulo in Brazil, and ICC is really about three things, and they're all in the title. It's international, as we well know now. There's 11,000, nearly 12,000 coaches in over 60 countries over this time now, certified coaches. And here we have a webinar with someone from London, someone from China, someone from Colombia, all speaking in the first 5 minutes. So the ICC is, of course, about coaching. Coaching is about being the best you can be, and also making a difference in business, making a difference to leaders, because that is one of the most important leverage points in the world at the moment, because business has a huge influence on all of us. And to get better business leaders and to be a better leader in business is crucially important, especially in these times when technology and the pace of change is going so fast. And then the third name, ICC, International Coaching Community. Community is a group of people who want to be together, who share values, values of ethics, of great expertise, and of wanting to do something. And ICC vision is coaching the world, coaching all over the world, and, well, the world can also be the best it can be. I don't think it's quite reached that point yet, but it's on its way. So that's a little bit about the ICC. We're global, we're in all different continents. Let me change the slide here. Okay, so this is, I'm going to be talking a little bit about the international certification. And this is international, as I said, and in times when there are many certifications in coaching, you want one that is going to be properly international and properly recognized. I think this is very important. So then, well, what is coaching? Just briefly. It's too complex to be caught by any single definition, It's certainly a process of coach and client. It explores the present and it designs the future. So what does that mean? It means that right now we all have certain issues, certain things in our lives that are happening. And some of them are good and some of them we would like to change, either because they are directly unpleasant or we know we could do better. In order to do that, we need to explore where we are. We need to know our present moment. It's not enough to try to leap into the future without having a place to leap from. So it's the idea of knowing yourself, knowing where you are, present moment awareness, especially of the habits, the habitual thinking and actions, that is one of the main things that are keeping people in place. This is crucial. So appreciate the present and then design the future. What future do you want? Because without designing in some way, it's random. It's either random and you can end up anywhere, or someone else will design it for you. So coaching is about helping you to design what future you want. Of course, no guarantee that this happens. There are too many, it's too complex. No one can guarantee if you want something, you're not necessarily going to get it. But if you design it, think about it, make plans for it, and think about it in an intelligent way, which is what coaching does, then it's going to work. So the other thing at the bottom here, the art and science of helping people achieve what they want but do not think is possible. So it's an art, it's about human beings. It's a science because it's a methodology, a definite methodology, and it helps people achieve what they want, in other words, their own designed future, but they don't think is possible. In other words, their ideas and beliefs and habits of thinking are working against it, and it may seem to be either not possible or too difficult. There's another very interesting definition of a coach that I came across recently, which is a coach is an expert for facilitating neuroplasticity. So let me explain a little bit about that. Neuroplasticity is the idea that's well established now, that we can change our brain. We can actually, by the way that we think, change the physical aspect of our brain by making the neurons wire together in different ways, breaking connections or strengthening other connections. So it's a very interesting field whereby, of course, our brain to some extent directs our thoughts, but we are able to literally rewire our brain depending on our habitual thinking and actions. And this, of course, then leads to new actions and new thinking. So this is the rise of neuroscience and coaching, of how we are, how we can appreciate how the brain works and what we can do in order to help the brain to work better. So this is a really interesting connection with the hard science of how the brain works. And I think this is really important and really fascinating in coaching at the moment. So if you're interested in that, you should definitely be coming along to the certification. Okay, so what is coaching? Well, here's another possible definition of coaching. 3 questions. First one, where are we now? As I said, you really need to appreciate where you are at the moment and be aware of those habits in the moment. So that's the first question, and the answer to that question can take some time, as a coach asks. One thing a coach does, of course, is to ask good questions. A coach does not give answers or give advice. So, what is coaching? Okay. Where do we want to be? So, having thought and analysed a bit and been aware about the present moment, in order to understand it better, in order to use it as a kind of jumping off point for where we want to be. So where do we want to be? And this is about designing our future. It's designing our goals. It's designing our better future. Now, some people, as I said, they find the present moment quite unpleasant. They're in difficult circumstance, they have a particular problem, and coaching can help them solve this. However, there are many people, especially in business, who are doing extremely well, and they want coaching because they know they can do even better. So coaching is not about necessarily fixing what isn't right. Coaching is about shooting for the moon, shooting for the stars, going as far as you can go. So it's not just about if you've got a problem, have a coach. It's very much about if you want to be better, if you see a future that's beckoning you, a future that's inspiring you, and you want to inspire others, this is where leadership comes in, then coaching is really important. So that's the second question. And of course that can take some time to answer as well. Where do we want to be? A lot of people don't think in sufficient detail or clarity about where they want to be. And then the third question, because if those two were fairly obvious, there wouldn't be a problem. You know, where are you now? Where do you want to be? And just move there. However, there are things in the way. There are obstacles. A person doesn't see the way clear towards their future that they want. And this is where a coach comes in. So by looking at the obstacles, looking at the risks, both the outside risks, and the risk assessment, and also the obstacles which are on the inside. In other words, the ideas and habits that the person has that are stopping them from going towards their goal. This is what a coach is particularly good at. And it's particularly interesting that one of the things that a coach does is to help the client think about their life and their issue, whatever it might be, in a different way. And by thinking about it in a different way, by having a different perspective, this can really release a lot of energy. It can change the way that you look at something. I mean, it's like trying to see something that isn't very visible because your view is blocked and you're trying to look from straight on and there's something in the way. If you just change your view, just step to one side, you may be able to see it much more clearly. And this is what a coach does. And I think it's true to say that one of the most important things that a coach does to help a client to resolve an issue is to help them to look at it in a different way, because the way that the client is looking and thinking about their particular issue is one of the things that is actually holding them back from solving it. When we have some answers to those three questions, then it's about action. Above all, a coach is someone who helps a client to take action, because there are many, many people who have a very clear understanding and great insight into what's wrong and maybe even what they need to do, but they don't do anything. They don't act. And this just, of course, doesn't work. You stay in the same place. So regardless of your understanding, you have to take action. And it's the action that you do that helps you to move forward towards your goal, expressing your values, and of course adding to that rewiring of the brain that I talked about in neuroplasticity. So that's a little bit about coaching, very, very briefly. So how then does it relate to leadership, and how can it help in leadership? Oh, before we do that, what coaching is not, just to clarify, because there are many people who have coaching confused with other things. So coaching is not any of these, and I'll just briefly say what these are. Coaching is not consulting. Consulting is usually to do with the business system, and a consultant gives prescriptions about how to change a business system. Doesn't necessarily talk with individual people and help them to solve their issues individually. Coaching is not training. Training is well, it's giving knowledge or skills from one person to many people. Same as teaching. A trainer or a teacher, one person has a group of people and they help those people get better directly at some skill or some knowledge. So coaching isn't training. Coaching doesn't do that. Coaching does not directly give you, impart from one person to another, skills and knowledge. Coaching is about bringing out the inherent skills and knowledge that the client has rather than putting anything in. Coaching is not facilitating in the business sense, because a facilitator is someone who helps a group of people arrive at a decision and makes a minimum contribution or no contribution to that decision, but simply helps the group dynamic process to reach that decision. And a coach is much more than that. The coach certainly manages the process, but does many, many more things than that, is more proactive than that, and is more involved in the actual result in terms of helping the people to get that result. Coaching is not therapy. Therapy is about fixing a difficult problem in some area of a person's life where their life is broken down. And usually what therapy does, and usually what clients are happy with, is if the therapist can bring the person back to an equilibrium, to a kind of general okay state, where the problem is not a big problem. So it's about fixing something. Coaching is not about fixing something directly. Coaching is about moving you forward to the very best you can be, and the very best you can be could be something that you can't even imagine right now. And I'm sure that everybody listening here can remember a time when they wanted something, but they weren't very clear about it. They didn't have enough knowledge. They didn't have enough kind of connection with themselves in order to move forward. And then, with help, with experience, you start to get a sense of what's possible. It's growing up. I can remember when I was at school, I wanted to be a doctor, among other things. I had no idea what a coach was. But through study, through living, through experience, I found out what a coach was. I realised I didn't want to be a doctor, that I wanted to be a coach. So the more you move forward and take action, the more possibilities open up, and the more you're able to have a choice about what you can do. Coaching is not mentoring. Mentoring is a senior person, usually who's been through what the client is going through and can advise them on the basis of their previous and superior experience. So mentoring often takes place in the arts, or it takes place in business, where you have a senior executive who will give advice and help to a junior one. So that's not really coaching either, because coaches do not give advice. And finally, coaching isn't management. A manager is someone who gets results through the work of others. And a coach doesn't do that. A coach helps the person, the client themselves, to get results. Now, that's not to say that coaching isn't a really, really essential part of managing. More and more, managers are finding that coaching skills are essential to being a good manager, and therefore managers are learning coaching skills either from outside trainers like myself and the ICC certification, or sometimes they have an in-house coaching program, which ICC does as well. So, as a manager, coaching skills will help you be a better manager, no doubt about that. But coaching in itself is not the same as management. So just a clarification there, because there's lots of confusion about what coaching is. So then if we move on to the main important things that I've been kind of repeating in different ways over the last 5-10 minutes. These are the important questions that clients will be asking themselves as a result of coaching. What do I believe? What are my convictions? What are the ideas that I act on? Not what are the ideas that I would like to act on or think I act on, but what ideas do I actually act on? And there are many people who act on quite different ideas to the ones that they say they do. You know, managers who say that they're very open and open to people talking and very not hierarchical and not bossy, and yet when we see them in action, they are hierarchical and they're not open. So this is about what are the ideas that drive the actions of people, and what's important, what are the values, what's important to people, because there are many, many, many possible goals in life, and we choose them as a result of what's important to us. So in the certification of coaching and coaching training, it's about really understanding values, what's important, and how to work with values. And I believe that this is one of the really important and unique points about this particular coaching training, that it links together goals and values, because goals on their own are just cognitive, they're just ideas. They need the emotional and motivational force of values for you to do something, to act. So that's what leads to action, and that's what action will make a difference. So leadership, how can we link in leadership here? Well, leadership is about vision, first of all. What's vision? Vision is about the future. A leader has an idea about a better, different future. And if this future is inspiring for other people, then other people are prepared to go with this leader towards that future. And leaders lead into the unknown. They need the trust of people. So coaching is going to help leaders to construct that vision, to make that vision, and it's going to help them to take the right actions to move forward to make that desired future. Presence. Presence is about literally being present, listening, paying attention to people. And coaches need this, of course. Coach is someone who shows great presence and listening skills to their clients. They must do. And leaders need to do this. Leaders need to be present. And of course, with great presence also comes some charisma, some force of personality. Not force of personality in terms of whipping people up to do something, or making them do something, or even pushing them or motivating them to do something, but just a kind of person that, by the light in their eyes and by the sound of their voice, you are attracted and you think that they have something, that they are lit up by something that you want a part of. So this is part of presence as well, and the best leaders have this. And where does this come from? It comes from being in touch with your own values and your own person. And what else do leaders do? They make people think. They bring people out of the status quo. They put them out of their comfort zone, not too much, but enough to move forward into something else. And leaders need to do this. They need to have good communication skills and good questions to make people think, both of which are very well developed by coaching and modelled by coaches. And when I say modelled, I mean coaches demonstrate these. Good coaches will demonstrate these things. So that's a little bit about leadership. Here's another quote. The best thing you can do for a person is to inspire them. And this is what coaches do. This is what leaders do. A good coach is a leader in that way. They have a vision. They have presence. They make people think. By learning coaching, you are learning essential leadership skills that you can use in any situation. You can use in your family, you can use in your business, you can use in your relationships, in your life. Because coaching can be used in any of those areas. Coaching in business, coaching, life coaching, coaching for better relationships. It's the same kind of process. It needs the same sort of things. So inspires people. Inspire. I think it's interesting that in English the word inspire is about breathing. Inspiration is actually another word for breathing in. When you breathe in, what do? You take in something that gives you life, something that gives you energy. So what's the best thing that a coach can do to a person, a leader can do to a person, is to help them to breathe in, help them to take in something that's going to inspire them. And by inspiring themselves, they can inspire other people. Because a leader needs to inspire and lead themselves first. In other words, they need to be... you're not going to pay attention to a leader that clearly is not motivated themselves, that doesn't believe themselves, that seems to doubt themselves. So in that sense, a leader must always first lead themselves. They must believe in that.
Joseph, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
We can see your screen, but the right side is a little bit cut. So we cannot really see the end, like everything that's written on the right, we cannot see.
Okay.
Do you think you
How
can...
about that? Is that any better?
No, it's still the same. Can you can you hit escape and then F5 again? See if we show the presentation again, if we can see it better.
What's something's cut, is it?
Yes,
because I'm seeing it fine.
Yes, on your computer you will see it fine, but everybody else is seeing it cut after person and after, like, we don't see the world, we only see the W. If it's not something
okay.
we can fix, then I think we can continue. But I just wanted to let you know that we're not seeing the full screen.
Okay. So let's try again.
Exactly.
Is that any better? Is that better?
Well, when you put it on presentation mode, yes, we see everything cut. But when you take it out of the presentation mode, we see it complete. But I don't think we should continue if it's not.
I don't know what to.
Yeah,
so should we do this?
Wait.
Is this what?
I think you could.
Is that better?
That's better. Yes, I think we can continue like that.
Okay, I had no idea because it looked fine to me. Okay, thanks, Sam. So sorry about that. I don't use slides with a lot of writing on them, so hopefully you've not missed very much. Okay, so inspiration we were talking about, and the quote from Gandhi: to be the change you want to see in the world, to actually model that, to demonstrate that. I think somebody's microphone is open because I'm hearing clicking of keys.
Sorry.
Okay, that's better. Great. So moving on then. So then, what do leaders do, and what do coaches do? So I look at this like an iceberg. So at the top, the visible part of the iceberg is the results that a person gets. And if we translate this into business, it's the results that the business gets. So it's the profits, it's the actions, it's the things that you can see, and it could be, you know, good or not. But at least it's something that you engage with. It's visible. So there's the results. Now, you can't directly affect those results without going below the iceberg, because most of what happens with an iceberg is underneath the surface. You can't make more come out of the surface without adding to the iceberg underneath. Right? You can't just build on top of the iceberg, because an iceberg has 9/10 of its mass and volume underneath the water, invisible. So what's invisible? What do we actually need to work with as coaches and as leaders? We need to work with behavior. What people do, the actions that people do. So as a leader, we need to inspire them to do different actions, or do more actions, or to stop doing some actions. And why would they do that? Why would they change? Well, we need to dig a little bit deeper down into the iceberg and think about their emotions. People do things for emotional reasons. This is well researched. Although we may often think that our thinking runs the show and that we're perfectly rational and all our decisions are rational, it's becoming more and more clear from neuroscience that this is actually not so. That actually it's the emotions. And you can see this from marketing and advertising. They realized that many years ago. If you want to sell something, you don't give a well-reasoned argument about how great it is. What you do is you associate it with some strong emotion of the person, of success, or a wonderful future, or feeling really good. And you've only got to watch television for the advertisements. They don't try to argue something's better. They just show you pictures or stories about wonderful things happening, and they engage your emotions. And emotions are linked with the values. And values are what is important to us. So if you are going to get better results, you need to change behavior, and in order to change behavior, you need to work with values and emotions. It's extremely interesting because, just as a quick example, we think that we're very rational and that our decisions are very rational. Well, there are some unfortunate people who have damage to a part of the brain called the amygdala, which is the main part of the brain that processes emotions. And people with a certain damage to the amygdala, their thinking, their rationality, their logic is fine. It's not impaired in any way. They can think through perfectly clearly. But what they find great difficulty in doing is making decisions. Because if you think about it, when we make decisions, basically what we do is we line up a number of different possible actions, and then we make a choice of which one of those actions we want to do on the basis of which one we think is best. Which one will give us the most reward, which one will make us feel the best. And it doesn't matter whether it's choosing what to eat in a restaurant, or choosing what clothes to wear, or choosing what relationship to go in, or what job to follow. It's an emotion. There's emotion involved in that decision. And people with the damage to the amygdala find it extremely difficult to make decisions. They can argue see the good and, the pros and the cons, or rationally, of everything. But then they don't have a basis for actually choosing one above the kind of all equal. The other. Because to thinking, to thoughts, it is all equal. It's only when the emotions come in and give value to one thing above another that you can actually make a decision. So emotions and values, and then at the bottom I put thinking. Of course, thinking is important. We changed our ways of thinking, how we look at things, we get more knowledge, and this is, of course, important. So those four things, we see the results, and sometimes we try to directly change the results, which is like trying to make the iceberg bigger by piling snow on top. It doesn't work. We need to go to change people's behavior by changing their emotions, by changing their thinking. Then the results come. Then the iceberg grows. And this is what leaders do, and this is what a coach does. So leaders and coaches are working on the same kind of aspects. So quickly, benefits of coaching that flow out of what I've said. It's evidence of a company's commitment to developing its people. It helps people move forward, and it's an important incentive for people to choose one company above another if they think they're going to get coaching. It shows that the company is interested in them. Of course, coaching develops and sustains high performance. It develops and sustains. That's important because there's plenty of intervention, especially training, that can develop better performance, can teach people skills, and then they come back to the workplace, and for a couple of weeks, maybe, they use their skills, and then it kind of goes away, and after about a month, things are back to normal. And this is a well-documented thing that happens with training. It doesn't stick unless it's followed up. And the best way to follow up training is by coaching. So if you want to make a difference to the people in business, by all means train them in the new skills that they need, but make sure you follow it up by coaching them to maintain and sustain those skills. Otherwise, they will just drift away in the old environment, and you'll be back to square one after about a month. Coaching also improves teamwork, people working together, and of course there is also team coaching, although that's a slightly different thing, which the ICC also does coach trainings in. More benefits. I've just talked about the follow-up to training. It's the most effective way of targeting resources precisely to the people who need them, because it is very exact, it's very precise. The coach helps people individually and directly with exactly what they need. And it gives a supportive organisational culture with a high morale. And certainly all the companies that I've worked in as a coach and doing coaching training, one of the most important intangible results of that coaching has been a higher morale, has been people feeling better about their work and what they're doing. And this sort of thing is not so easy to measure, but the results that come from it are very good. So then, what do we cover in the training? Well, here's a few things. How to task clients, that means how to help them to take action, to give them particular action steps that are exactly appropriate to what they need. Not so easy sometimes. How to help a client through their fears and mental blocks. Mental blocks will tend to be habits of thinking that work against them. Art of listening, different levels of listening for different things and what you listen for and how you listen to them. Because unless you listen, you will not understand your client, and unless you understand your client, you won't be able to ask a good question. And unless you ask good questions, you won't be able to stimulate their thinking and their values. Therefore, their behaviour will not change. Working with clients' limiting beliefs, in other words, ideas that limit them, helping them to design their best future with their particular goals. Develop your own coaching style, because coaching, of course, is going to be unique to you, whatever sort of coach you want to be. And to get the maximum change for the minimum effort. I like this one. It's called leverage. It means that if you want to change, there are many ways that you can do it. But the most attractive way, certainly, is to get the change with the minimum amount of effort. You don't want to spend a lot of money on it. You don't want to spend a lot of time on it. You don't want to have to use a lot of resources for it. You want to get the change, but you've got to push in the right place. It's kind of just knowing where to push, the right place to push, like a car mechanic, looking at an engine and just tightening one screw and the engine runs better. Whereas another not so good mechanic looks at the engine, takes it all apart, puts it all back together again, takes 2 days about it, charges you thousands of dollars, and yes, the engine is better. But which mechanic would you prefer? Some more things, what I call tactical coaching, because it's important to make a difference quickly. And by quickly, I mean in one session. Because if you're talking about leverage and getting results for the most results for the least effort, you can get a huge result just with the right question. I'm sure that everyone listening has had examples of somebody saying something to them, and it's been very impactful. Just a few words, just one sentence. If you want to help somebody, then a few impactful words is going to be much more helpful than arguing and arguing and arguing and arguing. So you do want to make a difference quickly. So making it in one session to give the clients more satisfying lives. What's satisfying to them, you don't know. They will define that. Working with goals and values and action plans we've talked about. And one thing about the methodology that we teach and that you learn as a coach is that a lot of coaching or coaching training can be about learning skills, and it's a bit like having a big toolbox full of tools, and they all look wonderful tools and they're all shiny tools and you'd love to use them, but you have no idea when to use them or in what order to use them. And one of the great strengths of our methodology is that you will get tools, yeah, for sure, but you will know exactly when to use them and exactly in what order to use them. And this gives a lot of confidence. So this all leads to an action plan. What are you going to do next? You do need to move forward. You've spent some time here with me. I've been talking about coaching. So maybe this has given you some ideas about what you're going to do next, because it doesn't mean anything unless it leads to action. You may want to enroll in coaching training, or you may want to do something that's going to help you. And that's fine, but my final thing would be take action, do something, because that's the only way to learn. So I'm pretty much finished with my my slideshow. So then I'm open to any questions that you might have for 10-15 minutes. Time is, just about on time here. So 10-15 minutes for questions. Sam can translate. Anyone who can speak in Chinese or wants to write in Chinese, or
in that case, I think it would be. Do you think it would be better to let them speak up their questions, or should I read them when they write them?
Yeah, we can do microphone, or you can write in questions. Alexis will pick up any questions written in. Otherwise, he'll pass the microphone if you raise your hand.
Okay. We have one question from Jason Chen. Jason, if you can unmute your microphone, if you prefer to speak up your question, or you can write it on the questions label on your software. Okay, we have a question from Edna Cho. Edna, can you speak?
Okay.
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I can hear you. Hello.
Yeah, hello. Thank you very much for your sharing. I would like to know that management, they look for the result. So how can we link from your point of view, how to link the coaching, with the KPI so that they can invest more time and resources on training from your point of view?
I'm sorry, Edna. It's a very bad line, and I couldn't really make out your question at all. I don't know if...
How about right now? Can you hear me?
I can hear you talking, but I can make out just a few words. I can't make sense of it. Alexis, can you hear that any better than me?
No, not really. No, I can hear her the same way you hear her.
Let's try one more time. If you can speak very slowly, and maybe I can pick up the question.
Okay, sure. So, from your point of view, do you have any suggestion that we can persuade the management coaching is very valuable, which is linked into the KPI?
I heard about my point of view for suggestions about persuading management, but then I missed what to persuade management about.
Joseph.
So how can we persuade them this is good for the KPI?
I heard something about a good point, but I don't know the question. I could guess and say, how do you persuade management to take up coaching?
Yes, but in the KPI perspective.
Well,
the KPI perspective, Joseph, from the KPI perspective.
Yes.
Sorry, ATI what?
A KPI perspective. That means the kind of the index that represent that
performance indicators.
Yeah, which is a value to the company. Yeah.
Okay, so let me say a couple of things. I completely agree that it's very important to have measurable results from coaching.
Yes.
And these measurable results, measured by KPI or 360-degree feedback or whatever it is that the management has, are essential, and they need to be agreed in advance with the coach and tracked all the way through. Because it's not enough just to come in as a coach and say, oh, we're going to be better. So you have to track it. I agree completely. So yes, track the KPIs, agree it to the start of what you're going to measure, and get feedback as you go along in order to make sure that we're on track. And if we're not on track, then we do something else, or we change, or we stop the coaching, because that's extremely important. There are many ways, of course, to track the results, and it depends on what particular company and what KPIs they have. Of course, the most important, the biggest one that you could do would be an ROI. It would be a return on investment. In other words, you spend this amount of money on coaching, and all the disruption and management time that has been taken up with this coaching. And this is the extra profit that you get as a result of that coaching. Now, that is a supremely difficult calculation to do, and in the end, almost impossible, because it's impossible to say exactly what results are because of the coaching and what results are because of economic factors or staff turnover or anything, all the other things that come into it. So there aren't many studies on ROI. I've done one with Citibank, and what happened was that we did a calculation. Well, they did a calculation, actually. It was a fairly rough and ready one about how much money was spent on the coaching and what was their extra profit that they made, and then they estimated more or less how much could be ascribed to coaching. They reckoned that probably at the very least 10% of the extra profit for the year could be ascribed to coaching, and at the very most about 25%. And then they did an ROI calculation, and it turned out to be somewhere between, for every dollar they spent, they got about $16 back or $40 back, between $16 and $40 back for every dollar they spent. So that was, they were happy with that for a bank. That's a pretty good investment. So you can do a kind of very rough and ready calculation like that, but it's going to take you a year, and you can't wait that long. So otherwise, you have to put things in place and track them as you go along. So that's one thing. One thing sometimes that managers say is that they haven't got time to do coaching, or they haven't got time to learn coaching. And my response to that is always that the more overworked you are and the less time you have, the more you need coaching, because you need to coach your people to become more independent and less dependent on you telling them what to do, because usually that's what's happening. Managers are very busy because their people are draining them and not able to get on with their jobs without guidance. So by coaching people, by learning coaching and then coaching people, you can actually free up some time. And that's also, I've got good results with that as well. So, yeah, measuring, objective measurements in KPIs and ROIs, and also subjective measurements in terms of how people are, how they feel they're getting on, and how other people react to them.
Right.
Okay, we have another question from Pablo Lira. Pablo, can you talk? Hello?
Hi, Pablo. I'm not hearing anything.
Well, in that case, Pablo, I'm going to ask you if you can please write your question. And we have another question from Arthur Rosa. Okay, Arthur, we can hear you now. Can you speak, please? Arthur?
I don't know what it is. It seems to be quite difficult to for the microphones to work sometimes.
I think it has to do with people not being familiar with the application, so they don't know how to.
Be,
but their microphones are unmuted.
Yeah, so it's possible.
Okay, Arthur.
Well, if write the question, we can move on maybe to someone else who can talk.
Yes, there's no one else with their hands raised, and but they're not writing their questions either. Wait, let me see.
Okay. Well, give them a couple of minutes, and if there isn't any written questions or any more hands up, then we can bring this to a close. Sam can.
Juan Ignacio, can you talk?
Say a few things to say.
Oh yes. Thank you, Alex, and pleasure to talk to you, also, Joseph.
Hi.
Yeah. Since there are no questions, I would like to take the chance to say that I have been taking coaching trainings for a long time now. I am an actual coach now, and I would like to take the opportunity for everyone listening to this talk that I am currently going through a training process with ICC through the Spanish Institute. So, Alvarez. And I'd just like to tell everyone that the difference, only in the first module, has been incredibly significant in my coaching with my clients.
Could you just say one particular thing that's been the most important change that you've noticed?
Yeah, you mentioned, Joseph, two things. and that I would like to validate. And one is the listening. It's unbelievable how learning the listening skill and using your intuition to come up with the most adequate questions has been very powerful. But that together with the other thing that you said, that is the method, the methodology to know when and how to ask the right questions. And these two things together, the effect on the coaching session, the productivity, it's unbelievable.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. That's very good to hear. And that's just the first module, so you'll have many more insights, I'm sure, in the following modules. Thank you very much for speaking up.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Has written his question. He says,
Okay.
as the iceberg metaphor shows, the deeper, the harder. So would you please tell us how to change someone's beliefs and values?
Well, that's going to take 2 days. That's day 2 of the coaching course for values, and day 5 for beliefs. Let me say a couple of things about that. People don't usually change their values. What they do is they get in touch with them, which kind of releases the energy, the emotional energy that they have. Because many people, yes, they have values, but perhaps they're not living them. Perhaps they're not connecting them with their actions and their goals. Now, when you put the values together with the actions and goals, it's like an electric current. It kind of sparks an energy between them. If you imagine two wires far apart, nothing happens. When they get close together and touch, you get a spark of electrical energy. And that's exactly what happens when you connect the values with the goals. So we're not exactly changing values, but we're understanding, realizing, connecting with our values. That's making us kind of going deeper as a person and giving us more energy to do what we want to do. And with regard to beliefs, again, coaching doesn't change beliefs directly. Coaching is more about finding out what beliefs the person has. And by beliefs, I simply mean habitual ideas that direct your actions. Because belief sounds a bit religious, and it's not religious at all. It's simply about the ideas that direct your actions, which you may or may not be familiar with. So a coach isn't interested in changing people's beliefs. A coach is interested in surfacing those ideas and showing the client those ideas and letting the client decide what they're going to do about those ideas. Because some of them will be limiting, and then the client has an opportunity to test it out. Because if the client is acting out of a limiting idea, it's because they think that limiting idea has some validity, some truth. And they will need help and support to take an action that changes that, or gets more information about that particular idea. Because the thing about these ideas and beliefs is that they constrain what we're willing to try out. If you believe that a piece of metal is hot, you are not going to touch it. And you're just not going to touch it, and that's it. Hold on with my screen. You're not going to touch it. It doesn't matter whether it's hot or cold. You won't actually know how hot or how cold it is if you don't touch it. But your belief that it's hot and is going to hurt you will stop you touching it and will stop you getting information about that. So then what can you do? Well, you don't necessarily have to touch it, but you do need information about it, so you can do something that will allow you to get good information about actually how hot that thing is. And then, maybe, it isn't as hot as you thought it was. Maybe it was hot days ago, and now it's cooled down. But you're still thinking it's hot because you're still thinking back to the days ago. and that's very common in beliefs. We get ideas, especially in childhood, which are true then, of course, and then we don't change them, we don't update them. We never update our beliefs and ideas about how people are and how we are that we learn in our childhood. We don't question, and they sink down and they direct our actions, and they need to be questioned. Who knows how much we are not expressing our full potential because we think that we are less than we really are. And what a coach does is going to help you to look at those ideas and decide how much truth there really is in them. So that's just there are particular questions and exercises that we do to specifically do that, but I'm sorry, we really don't have time to do that now. And if you're interested, talk with Sam a bit more, and if you're really interested, join the training.
So, Joseph, I guess some of the question from friends about could you please explain more about what's the difference between ICC and ICF? Some of the things that most of the people would like to make it clear.
Yeah, sure. Well, ICC and ICF are international bodies at the same level. In other words, they are coach certification bodies that certify people as coaches. The difference is simply, well, there are many differences. One is that ICF is United States based. ICC is, well, it started in Brazil. We have board of directors. I'm a director, English, and we have a Portuguese director, we have an Argentinian director, we have a Brazilian director. So the ICC certifies coaches, and so does the ICF. We're on good terms with the ICF. I know several of the past presidents. We're in the same business. We're all interested in a strong and skillful and ethical profession, no doubt about that. We simply differ in the courses that we register and that we certify. The ICF courses have particular rules. I can't, I don't know what the ICF rules are, so I can't tell you about those. What I can tell you is that the ICC initial training is 100 hours altogether. It has a European Quality Award, which means that it's benchmarked against European quality standards based on European universities. It's one of the very, very few coaching trainings in the world that has that particular one. We have a pathway which we will guide you through that will allow you to use your ICC certification in order to gain an ICF accreditation. Because they're not, it's not like if you do one you can't do the other. Because it's all about coaching, it's all about coaching skills. So there is a process we can guide you through. If you do the ICC training, you need to fill in some forms, and if you want to go then and do ICF training or become an ICF coach as well, then you can. There's absolutely no barrier to that. Can help you with that.
Okay, there are a few other questions. Okay. There are a few other questions, but since we're out of time, I suppose we could answer them at a later time and send them the answers, or would you like to go over them now?
I can answer them very briefly if we have a couple of questions. I don't like to leave questions. They're so important in coaching.
Arthur Rosa says that he's an ICC coach, but he works in a company where people don't use coaching, and sometimes it is very difficult to maintain his ideals. He wants to remain a professional coach. So the question is if you have any advice.
Well, I would say, first of all, don't lose your ideals. Keep breathing, keep the fire burning, because if you show other people in your company that your coaching skills and being a coach gets you great results and great presence, then they will start to get interested. So use your skills to get the results that are going to make other people sit up and take notice and ask you, hey, where did you learn that? Or, hey, that was neat. Where can I learn that? Or, hey, that was really good. Then that's the way that you demonstrate to other people about the value of coaching. It doesn't help to tell them how great coaching is. It only helps to show them how great coaching is. So I would say do that and get support in as many ways as you can from other coaches, from ICC events, from webinars like this, in order to keep the flame burning and strong.
Also, Freeman Chen says he wants to know how he could get well prepared for the upcoming training in April.
Best way is to read the book by myself and Andrea, which is called Coaching with NLP. I don't know if it's in Chinese. If you can read English, that's great. Maybe Sam can find out if it's in Chinese. I'm not sure about that. That would be a good...
Yeah, there's no...
There is? Or no?
Not yet.
Sam? Not yet. Okay.
Yet.
Okay, on its way. So then, I would say speak with Sam, and he will probably be able to advise you in the best way for particular circumstances in China. It's difficult for me at this stage. But certainly if you have any readings around coaching, if you do coaching already, keep practicing and be ready for an amazing experience.
And thank you. And we also have another question from Pablo. He asks, how does a coach get to know when a coachee needs psychological help during a coaching session?
Well, two quick answers to that. One is, as coach, do not take anybody on as a client that you don't feel comfortable with. And that means, they may be perfectly okay. It's just that their particular issue is not something that you want to deal with. Maybe you're a leadership coach and they have relationship issues. Or maybe you're a relationship coach and they have leadership issues. So don't take on any client that you're not comfortable with. And any client whose life has significantly broken down in some area may need therapy. A coach is not a doctor, a coach is not a therapist, and the moment you come to think that this is what a client would benefit from, then say so. If you have a recommendation of a doctor or therapist that you know that you can recommend, that would be good. Otherwise, you say, look, I'm not really the person to help you in this situation. I think you need to see a therapist and come back when you feel better. We're not, we need to know our place as coaches. And, doctors are good for one thing, therapists are good for a thing, coaches are good for a thing. So make sure you know your boundaries.
Okay. Arthur just wants you to know that Alexander Lemos from Portugal is an amazing person, as you know, and that they all love her. He just wanted you to know
I knew that. I knew that. She's an ICC director as well, and she's a great trainer. Okay, so I think we can. Yeah, good. I think we can call a halt then. So many thanks to all of you listening. Many thanks to those of you who will be listening to the recording, and I hope to see many of you in China in April. So good luck.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Joseph. Samuel.
you.
for
Thank you,
being with
Joseph.
us.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.
Bye bye.